It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980 on a Victory Monday, I guess. Here on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We're live on YouTube as well at the Team 980. Anthony is dancing. He is pumped up. He's playing the song. But Anthony, do you actually feel good?
Yeah, I feel good.
Okay. I mean, look, they played great. It's just, the starting quarterback and future of the franchise didn't play past the first series.
I mean, yeah, that's a little concerning.
Yeah, just, not full-on concerning. Officially listed as week to week, as you just heard in the press conference, and then Russell apparently had a freak out about. He doesn't have a broken rib. I wouldn't want to have to bet my life on it, but, he doesn't have a broken rib. Because if he had a broken rib, they would be concerned about impact. He's got something muscular because they're concerned about him actually being able to perform the movements, as Dan Quinn called them, a.k.a. throwing a football. So that's good and bad. If it was a broken rib, you could in some ways put a flak jacket on and just go out and play. And it's a pain tolerance issue. This is a performance issue. So my guess is that we're going to see what he's got this week in practice, and they will go from there. So, with that, I say we get started on 1st and 10 then, shall we? Let's just break down the game.
It's time to get the breakdown started. 1, 2, 3. First up, 10 observations. And just boom, put it right on the ground. It's 1st and 10.
My fancy numbers aren't working, so we're just going to get rolling with number 1. Obviously, this is a game with a huge cost. Jayden Daniels not finishing this game, not playing most of this game, is terrifying in the long term because it is a reminder, and I guess what I would call the quiet part out loud, right? The quiet part of this winning streak, the success, the everything, is it's fragile. This is the nature of the NFL. This is not something that is specific to Jayden Daniels, even if there's a lot of consternation about Jayden's durability because of his size, not being the biggest, thickest guy in the world before the draft. The reality is the data doesn't really support the concerns about size when it comes to injuries. Have there been some smaller guys that have gotten banged up? For sure. But the concerns about size when it comes to quarterbacks are the ability to be dragged down easily, the inability to see through throwing windows. There isn't a lot of really it's because they get crushed and stuff. And this injury was kind of freakish in that way. He just got bent funny getting tackled. I think that there is a lesson out in the open field. Hey, man, let's keep the hits predictable. So if you have a lane to the outside, let's stay to the outside and see if you can win a foot race. 1, you're really fast and you might win a foot race. 2, in this particular case, as Jayden runs out to his right, the hit has to come from the left. There's a way you can protect yourself on that. So injuries happen in football, and that's the reality that until they get a better roster with depth, there are injuries away at multiple spots from things not going as well. And obviously, things still went really well yesterday for reasons that we will discuss. But the number one thing coming out of this game is what happens with Jayden. Now, I will say, after hearing Dan Quinn, I have a pretty, I've been around football and I've been around this staff enough this year that they're pretty honest on stuff. And there's a way they word things that I think are pretty straightforward. And then I have the medical enough background with my training, whatever, to kind of understand some of the things that are at play here and some of the things you can rule out. He doesn't have a broken rib. You know how I know that? Because Dan Quinn said that it wasn't a contact situation. They're not worried about him getting hit again. They're worried about whether he can throw and run and be an athlete. So if that's the case, that tells you it's something muscular. It's something where there's a strain or a pull, and whether it's a cartilage or one of the little muscles in there, because you got a whole bunch of stuff that's holding your core in place, oblique, whatever it is. They're calling it ribs, so I'm guessing it's the cartilage situation. That stuff hurts. It's really uncomfortable, and it does impact your ability to create torque, which is kind of important to throw a football, or if you need to be slithery and slide and move that. Those sudden little twitchy movements can anger that thing. So we'll see. I think that the other hint here, as Dan Quinn said, it's going to come down to my eyes in practice. It's not him getting clearance from a medical team. It's Dan watching Jayden play and going, this looks like Jayden. We can play him. Or this doesn't look like Jayden. he's going to not be able to help us as much as we want, and thus it's not worth the risk of putting him back out there where he makes it worse. So, of course, there'll be medical people involved. I would guess a guy like Adam Peters is involved too. He's got to have the long-term vision, and that's kind of his job, where Dan's is more day-to-day, even though I think they both look at the others and try to weigh the factors the best they can. But ultimately, like, that's what we're talking about here, is some kind of rib injury, muscle, cartilage, etc., that one, Jaden can perform, and the risk of re-injury is low. He'll play. Until then, we're obviously in doubt of the Jayden Daniels, Caleb Williams showdown that we were hoping for on Sunday. Number 2, I just want to talk about real quick in terms of his management moving forward, which is it shouldn't change one bit. I understand the freak out of he can't run, he's going to get hurt. Oh my God, no way. It's the design runs aren't what's going to get him hurt. And certainly something that's freakish like this. Yes, inherently you're going to then take probably more hits than if you stood in the pocket. The biggest hits quarterbacks take are in the pocket. He has been tremendous at avoiding hits. He got hit in a funny way and got bent. This could have happened to a wide receiver. It could have happened to any ball carrier. It could have happened to a defensive back on a pick. It could have happened on a scramble that was not a design run, as Dan Quinn pointed out. This was a kind of a fluky thing. It happened to come on a play that started a design run. And by the way, that play was 46 yards and ultimately was the drive starter on a touchdown drive. So if you want to have the maximal offense around Jayden Daniels, he has to run. It helps everybody else, and there's not a way around it. And unless you want to undercut one of the big reasons why he's been great, this is part of the deal. And that is he is exposed to everything else that every ball carrier is, which most carries, most catches, most everything end up in all 22 guys getting up off the field. And that's just the reality of the situation. So I understand the consternation. I'm not saying that the feelings that you're feeling of concern are not coming from a place where you just want to see your guy healthy. What I'm telling you is the solution isn't to take out the running game. That's not going to help anybody. It hurts the offense, and that's kind of the Jayden Daniels piece of it. Number 3, last thing on the offense real quick, and then we'll get to a bunch of defense stuff, as well as a couple other news and notes in the back half of our 1st and 10. But number 3, the offense deserves a ton of credit because they continue to pour it on and absolutely cook with Marcus Mariota at quarterback. A little bit of a rough start. He has a keeper, and then Cornelius Lucas loses big time quickly on a pass play, and they wind up in a 3rd and long after a penalty, and then Cliff calls a perfect play. Diami's wide open, and Marcus just misses him. And then Marcus comes back out and misses a couple other throws, and they got back into the run game. He got a couple carries, and all of a sudden he found a rhythm to an extent, and he absolutely cooked from then on out. He was fantastic from middle of the second quarter all the way through basically when they stopped trying on offense. And a lot of that has to do with this is a very well designed, very well called, very well executed offense, and the O-line deserves credit, and the receivers deserve credit, and Marcus deserves credit, and Cliff, and Anthony Lynn, and Tavita Pritchard, and Bobby Johnson, and I don't want to leave anybody else out, so I'm going to stop. David Rye. Here, there we go. Rye, the tight ends coach. Give them all credit. Also, the Panthers are terrible, and I cannot stress enough how much of an impact that had in this game, which is not meant to say that the Commanders actually performed secretly terribly. They took the tests that they were presented with, and they scored maybe not an A+, because they did have a couple of field goals, and there's some red zone stuff that obviously if you get an A+, you score all of them touchdowns as opposed to stalling out in the red zone a couple times. But they for sure as you know what got an A. But the Panthers were not very good to begin with, and they have a bunch of injuries. And of their front 7, they're starting like day 1, week 1, front 7 projected group. One dude played in this game. So you're talking about one of the worst teams in football that is super talent deficient, and you got the backups on that team playing against your offense. Again, Commanders did exactly what they were supposed to do. They went up and put up a 40-piece. But all the times that things didn't go perfectly to plan, that Marcus wasn't in a rhythm, he could kind of just stand there or shift around a little bit in the pocket. Oh, we got 4 seconds to throw. Sweet. Oh, there, now someone's open. Oh, no one's open. Let's run around a little bit, and let's scramble. Pass rush completely non-existent. Again, their front seven super banged up, so you run for 200 yards on them. Like, that is a bad – it's beyond a bad football team. They are bad, and they are banged up. And something weird is happening in the NFL this year where the bad teams are extra bad. The guys who do DVOA, Aaron Schatz is the main guy behind it. And according to their metrics, they have never had this many teams that are this bad by their metric in terms of we're 30% worse than the league average. They've got like 5 or 6 teams that are that bad. It is brutal. And I don't know exactly what's causing it. I don't know exactly what it is. It's something that I actually kind of want to explore on the show this week to see if we can figure it out. But teams like Cleveland, teams like Carolina, they're just horrendously bad football teams. And the Commanders, to their credit, have beaten the crap out of them to the point that they have the league's best point differential. That is a credit to Washington. But it is not like, oh, this offense is just fine without Jayden. Marcus can run it. No, the Bears' defense is good. It is a very different challenge. And the precision and the decision-making, the creative ability, and all the stuff that Jayden provides is going to be much, 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 much more needed than it was against a Carolina team that is essentially, if you took Marcus Mariota and the rest of the Commanders' ones against most teams' 3s and 4s in the preseason and said, go play 60 minutes of NFL football. That's what happened yesterday, and the scoreline was certainly reflective of that. When we get back, something that even accentuated that, and when the game was in the balance, for about 2 seconds of when the game was in the balance, one big man who made a big difference. That's next in the back half of our First and 10 on the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and always live on the free Odyssey app. It's Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Coming up at 5 o'clock, Michael Phillips, as usual, on a Monday. Your calls next at 4:30 and 301-230-0980 on a Tell the Truth Monday. But it is time to continue with our Pick 6. We talked about Jayden Daniels and how bad the Carolina Panthers were to get things started. Let's keep it rolling with our final 7. Math, never my strong suit. But if there's 10 things from the game, and we did 3, that would mean there's 7 left, starting with
number 4.
The game flow in this game is something that I talked about a lot last week. Logan and I did on Take Command as well. And ta-da, don't we look like a bunch of geniuses? And yeah, the Panthers were really bad, but they also, there's a version of Carolina that's can compete, especially offensively. And that version of them runs the football. Andy Dalton gets some matchups here and there, and he can deal a little bit. That version never had a shot once the opening drive happened, because they actually had that version for the first part of the opening drive. And then Andy Dalton threw a pick 6, and then things went downhill. Why? Because Carolina abandoned the run. They tried to chase the game, and they had no shot. And I told you that if this thing gets the wrong way for Carolina score-wise and they have to chase it, it could get really, really ugly. And sure enough, 40-7 later, sometimes your boys know what they're talking about. And although I feel like sometimes we can talk about that game flow stuff and how it can magnify strengths and weaknesses, and it feels like it's almost too obvious. This is an example of why it can be so, so important.
Number 5.
One of the guys that changed the game. Phidarian Mathis is really large, really strong, and really hard to move. And that dude came in the second series of the game after Johnny Newton had gotten moved a little bit. They obviously have the end around play as well. That's the big, mover for the Panthers on the first drive. But on that second drive, Johnny Newton starts next to Daron Payne. And they tried to run the football again, and it was like, nope, nowhere to go. And in the first drive, double team, big movement on Newton. And Johnny's still figuring things out at this level. Like, he's a rookie. That's going to happen. He has some really special moments that you see the flashes, and you're like, man, this guy's going to be really good when he figures out the basic stuff. Big Phil's just like, I am not moving. And so they try to move him on a double team, and Daron Payne has an enormous amount of space to go make a tackle at the line of scrimmage. The linebackers have more room to flow. And so I did kind of wonder about this last week, sometimes aloud on the show, of, well, Newton is the obvious next man up in the rotation. Is it actually smarter to play Big Phil on first and second down, especially against teams that want to run the football, because of how hard he is to move in the run game? And I think that theory showed some credence with how well he played. And like Sheldon Day, same thing. He's a big, big dude. And they're not going to give you a ton of the pass rush. If a team's running a bunch to the outside, they might not give you as much mobility to chase plays down. But they're also going to hold up the blockers from getting out there. It makes your linebackers and safeties getting downhill better. And I think you saw that in this game in the very small amount of time that there was actually a run game to be dealt with for Carolina.
Number 6.
Obviously, Dante Fowler had an unbelievable day. I think most people probably also realized Daron Payne had a really good day. The thing I want to point out is how well they played together. Those guys have now started to figure out how to hit some of the timing and some of the angles and some of the nuances on these stunts and twists, and that's going to lead to a lot more of, I don't want to say days like yesterday. I mean, Dante Fowler's been playing for like 12 years. That was his first career interception. So I'm not going to say, hey, they're going to figure out how to pick 6 a whole bunch. But I do think both of them making plays behind the line of scrimmage is going to happen more consistently moving forward. Yeah, I mean, Carolina's O-line is actually not that bad, but they figured out ways to just absolutely destroy it. And the way they played off each other, the tenacity with which both of them are playing, their speeds are matched up, and yes, each of them individually did really good stuff, but often it was the other one on that left side of the defensive line that were, responsible for the play. So if Payne makes a play, go watch what Fowler did. It was something really good. If Fowler makes a play, go watch what Payne did. It was something really good. And it freed that guy up to be the playmaker that both of them are.
Number 7.
Number 7, just a round of applause. Emmanuel Forbes, good to see you. And I think the obvious is, hey, got a pick. Love that. Dalton threw it right freaking to him. I mean, Forbes played that very, very well. The receiver played that horrendously, but he did play it really well. He's playing quarters coverage. You know, he could have got caught way outside, but he realizes there's no one. He's playing on the defensive left. There's no one to my left. All that's over there is a sideline. So instead of just going and, standing in the middle of my Madden bubble, if you will, I'm gonna go actually follow this receiver inside, and I'm gonna latch on because that's my job. That's what you're coached to do. And he gets right inside. Dalton thinks, oh, I got this easy because the safety that's typically in that quarter of the field is played a little bit deeper. It's been pulled back. And instead of a window, there's Emmanuel Forbes. So good work, Emmanuel. That's how you play zone. Very well done. But I think the other thing that was interesting and worth following, a note, if you will, for moving forward, is he was also out there on special teams. He was out there, I believe, on punt return, as a blocker and as a gunner on the side. And that means he can stay up as opposed to being the inactive guy. So that, as the injuries and different formations and different personnel packages are being used moving forward, even if he's not an every down starter, like, let's have that guy available because he's big and he's tall and he's rangy and all the things that made him a first round pick. And maybe he can develop some confidence and earn his way back on the field. But the fact that he was out there on special teams, I think, is a good sign. Obviously, that means he's willing to do it. He's not like obstinate about it. But in practice, obviously, they saw enough to say, hey, Emmanuel, you're up this week. Let's go get him.
Number 8.
Speaking of special teams, damn, these dudes hit. Dan Quinn is literally like, if you play safety for me on this team, you're going to be on kick coverage, and I want you to just pretend it's a running play. And that's basically how they cover kicks. And it is a race between Derek Forrest, Jeremy Reeves, Jeremy Chin, like Quan. They're all out there. And it is free for all to the ball. And they arrive with bad intentions. And Nick Ballor's like, I want to race too. Jeremy McNichols is like, I want to race too. Those dudes hit. And not only is that going well on special teams for Larry Izzo and company, but Austin Eckler's having an unbelievable year as a returner. Like, obviously Carolina doesn't kick off in the first half because they didn't score. And they come out, kick off the second half. Eckler returns it to like the 40-yard line. What? That's just like how he rolls. I don't know why you kicked him right now. And so from offense, defense, and special teams, A's across the board in this game for sure. And the last piece of special teams, by the way,
Number 9.
how about just another perfect day for Austin Seibert? It wasn't pretty all the time. Couple of extra points that were, one in particular that was very squirrely. You're like, that ball looked like it hit the ground and then bounced up and through the uprights. Like that was a weird, odd duck. So clearly, there's some stuff hidden deep in the demons of Austin Seibert's right foot that still occasionally try to pop out, but he hasn't missed from under 40. He's barely missed at all in his career in Washington. He has the one blocked kick. And to think about how much consternation there was for good reason in training camp. And we just kind of said, hey, eventually they'll find someone that's going to get cut by another team. They had a guy in mind. They went and got him. It worked out. Bang, bang. And good for Austin Seibert to continue to be perfect. Last but not least, back to the Panthers real quick.
Number 10.
Can they please just free Bryce Young? I don't necessarily disagree with like what Matt Ryan said at halftime, where he said, I wouldn't play him in this game, talking about Carolina, Washington. I wouldn't put him in even though you're up or down 27-0 because I want him to get the week of practice. But Dave Canales said again today, we got a plan. We're not changing from that plan. Ian Eagle was talking about the broadcast. They say they've got a plan. They just don't want to tell anybody what it is. Canales today was asked again about trading Bryce Young, and he's like, well, some things might change because they initially said no. If Bryce Young isn't ready to come in a game and get valuable experience, to just play some reps where it's not going to make him worse, when you're down 27-0 and the game could not have any less pressure on it, then you need to trade him to someone who believes in him. This dude was, I don't want to say the consensus number 1 pick, but over CJ Stroud, most people liked him. And I'll admit, like, I liked I didn't study these quarterbacks nearly as obviously closely as I did this year's crop because Washington wasn't in the market for one last year based off their draft position. But I liked Bryce Young a lot, and what he did at Alabama was pretty big time. He's really smart, and there's just no way that he should be this unplayable. And if he is, it's reflective of the organization as much as it is the player. So trade him to another organization. There is someone out there right now who would give you a decent pick for the guy who was 1-1 overall last year. This wasn't 3 years ago. It's not like, hey, rookie contract, we only got him for a couple. You got him for 2 more years after this before the 5th-year option if you wanted to try him out for size in the offseason, but just bring him in now. And so man. I don't know what team, if I was Miami, I would have tried a couple weeks ago. Now Tua's coming back. But if Bryce Young can't get in this game, like Carolina, free Bryce Young. Not saying you made a mistake in not putting him in, but if he's not ready to come in this one, you got to trade him somewhere else so they can get him ready to be in a game eventually, because this is nonsense. Anyway, aren't you glad that Washington got their quarterback right? Probably feel a little better if he was healthy, 301-230-0980. It's Tell the Truth Monday. Your thoughts on the 40-7 Washington win. 301-230-0980. Tell the Truth Monday next for the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. And always live on the free Odyssey app. It's the Hoffman Show on a very busy Monday on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Right now, it is Tell the Truth Monday time. Anthony, you got the formal introduction for the people at home.
It's a great question, Craig.
I always forget that we have it until right about now.
I forgot too.
But we do have a formal introduction. I will say, while Anthony looks for said formal introduction, that coming up at 5 o'clock, Michael Phillips, who needs no introduction, will join us. But right now,
It's Tell the Truth Monday on The Hoffman Show.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth!
Call us now at 301-230-0980 to tell the truth about the Commanders.
You can't handle the truth!
Or hit the comment section at the Team 980 on YouTube.
all right, that's how it goes. And let's get things started with Darius in Oxon Hill. Darius, thanks for calling. You are on The Hoffman Show.
Hey, what's up, Craig?
What's up, Darius?
Yeah, so I just want to tell the truth, just mainly about, the whole day in general. It was very refreshing to see just a well-run, we looked like a well-run, competent organization yesterday. We took care of business. We handled business at home. We beat a team that we were supposed to beat. Also, with Darryl Green's jersey retirement, just the day in general, you could tell is exactly what a well-run organization is supposed to do on the day of their a great player's retirement. And it just feels good to kind of see that come to fruition, even with an injury, a little hiccup in the beginning of the game. It didn't, the wheels didn't fall off because of that. Backup quarterback came in, handled business, and we did everything we were supposed to do yesterday. And yeah, I just want to tell the truth. It just felt good to be a fan yesterday and see that from our organization.
Darius, appreciate the call. Thanks. I think that's a great summation of kind of how everything went down yesterday. Like, this is a team and an organization, or Darius did go with the Canadian pronunciation there, organization. Team and an organization who really understands what it means to be a professional. And that goes from the jersey retirement ceremony and everything they did for Darryl Green to how they handled themselves with Jaden, how they, the players handled themselves once Jaden went out, to how Jaden handled himself, coming back on the sideline, smile, wave, okay, cool. Like, it seems like a well-oiled machine. And that's not to say there aren't going to be bumps in the road. There's not going to get stuff that gets caught in the cogs that you're going to have to clean out every once in a while. That is a great place to be, to feel as a fan like, hey, we're gonna figure it out. And even if they don't figure it out immediately and there's a loss or a hiccup or a bump in the road, like, they'll figure it out eventually. And I think they've proven that time and time again. Let's go to Scott in Crofton. Scott, what's your truth after yesterday's game?
Well, listen, the one thing that I wanted to discuss was Jayden Daniels' inability to go out of bounds and not take the serious hit. I mean, it seems like he just takes on the serious hit, and I love the guy, and I think he's a great talent. But, man, he doesn't do us a whole lot of good being on the bench or being on IR if he's going to take a serious hit. He needs to step out of bounds or throw the ball away or something. He needs to do something so he doesn't take the serious hit. What do you think?
I think that is, like, there's some truth to what you're saying, but it is largely an overreaction based off of what happened. Because the reality is, like, there's no throwing it away. He's 45 yards down the field, in the open field, and I would have liked to see him veer towards the outside there, both as a runner, because I think he had a better chance of taking it to the house, and two, he also then is probably a little more protected from hits. But it was just a weird way that he got tackled. And, like, that kind of stuff can happen. It can happen in the pocket. It can happen, like, honestly, the biggest hits probably come in the pocket. You get bent over sometimes in the pocket. And so I think that it's just, this is football. Like, dudes get hurt. And I don't say that callously or flippantly because these are human beings. I don't want them to get hurt, but this is the reality of the sport that they play and the sport that we all love to watch and talk about.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't mean on that one play. Yeah, that one play you can throw the ball away. I kind of misspoke on that, but I just was hoping that he would just go out of bounds and
Yeah.
save himself.
Yeah, no, Scott, and I hear you, because at the end of the day, thanks for the call. It's coming from a place of like, hey, we want this guy out there. We want him to be well. We want him to be healthy. And there's been, a couple times maybe this season where he could have taken less of a hit or less hits, but he's also gotten up time and time again. And this is how he was at Alabama too. The biggest hit that he took at Alabama was from Dallas Turner in the pocket. Knocked him out. Had a concussion. Like, it was bad. He also had the game of his life the next week. The Florida game was the week after Dallas Turner knocked him out of the Alabama game. And if you don't know about Jayden Daniels in the Florida game, buddy, go to YouTube right now and watch those highlights, because, oh my God, one of the greatest games a college quarterback has literally ever played. So his toughness, his tenacity, like, I have full faith he'll bounce back. My question is, in the meantime, like, what happens here? And he could pull a rib throwing a ball. Like, it just happened to happen on a hit where he got torqued a little bit. Let's go to Charles. Charles, what truth do you see from the Commanders' 40-7 win over the Carolina Panthers yesterday?
I was terrified when he went out. Just seeing the huge drop-off with Mariota. Even with some of the completions, it seemed like he was slow in getting them the ball. And, it just speaks to how fast Jaden processes information. But hopefully he's good and he can throw and everything. But, yeah, I'm really nervous about having Mariota.
Charles, thanks for the call. I appreciate you being willing to say that part out loud, because Marcus's numbers yesterday are fantastic. And Marcus is a competitor. And, by the way, Marcus is a mentor. They mentioned this on the broadcast, so I'm just going to name drop because this was the reality of my weekend. I had coffee with Ian on Saturday morning, Ian Eagle from CBS. I've known Ian a long time, as I think a lot of you that have been longtime listeners of me know. Like, Ian's another Syracuse guy. We went to the same school. I've known his son Noah for a long time, and Ian, I'm very lucky to have someone who's a mentor. So we were catching up on Saturday morning, and we were kind of just exchanging notes, and he's like, man, the praise that they had for Marcus, and the praise specifically that Jaden had for Marcus, was like impactful enough that it was something that Ian mentioned. And obviously we don't know that he's going to spend the next day calling most of a game where Marcus Mariota is actually playing, and that information is going to very much come out because of that. And we've also heard that a lot, but the fact that Ian coming in for the game for the week, kind of parachuting in, goes like, comes out of the meetings, the production stuff that he has on Friday, like, man, Marcus Mariota is doing an incredible job as a mentor. So Marcus, and the job that he was mostly brought here to do, like, is doing an unbelievable job as a mentor. But as a player, they're not the same. And the good plays that Marcus has look very reminiscent of the good ones that Jaden has, because it's the same offense, and they do have, on some level, some similar skill sets, but they're just running the same plays. Like, a quarterback on time looks like a quarterback on time. But the difference in yesterday's game, this is why I said what I said in 1st and 10, is the bad plays that you would typically have against a more NFL caliber defense, certainly a good NFL defense like you're going to see against Chicago, literally do not happen yesterday against Carolina, because Carolina's defense is that just incapable of doing anything. They had that little bit of teeth. No pass rush, all that stuff. Couldn't stop the run. So you just don't wind up in bad situations. And so what happens next week? Hopefully with a week of practice, you get a better version of Marcus, not necessarily from a production standpoint, but from a process standpoint, because that's going to lead to better outcomes against a Bears defense that, in, I believe it is 12 of the last 13 games, has given up 21 points or less. 301-230-0980. We will take more of your calls on Tell the Truth Monday next. It's Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live on YouTube as well at the Team 980. Was just going through the comments there. Lots of spirited discussion about Jayden and the injury that might keep him out Sunday. We don't know. And I actually just got a text from one of my buddies in Chicago who does radio there. And he's like, what are the chances Jayden plays? And I was like, 50-50. We don't know yet. It's early in the week. The good news is the imaging is good enough. There's no broken ribs, whatever the imaging says in terms of pulls, strains, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's going to come down to when he steps on the practice field on Wednesday, can he throw the football? And can he run? And can he keep himself safe from a movement standpoint? If he can do all that, he's going to play. If he can't, then they're going to sit him for a week. And then they'll see how he's doing next Wednesday and go from there. So it is a TBD. We don't know yet, but doesn't mean we can't talk about the game or how we feel about what happens if he does miss time, especially after seeing Marcus Mariota play and put up great numbers, albeit sometimes in a bit of a squirrely process yesterday. 301-230-0980 is the phone number. Let's go to Mike in Wheaton. Mike, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
Yeah, how you doing?
I'm good, Mike.
Hey, I'm loving Jayden. He's a smart football player. He knows the game. He's got the offense down as much as they've put in, but I think he's risky stupid. And what I mean by that is, this is the NFL. This ain't high school or college. There's 1,500 professionals in this league. They're the best of the best of the best this year. And when he's in a situation like he was on that 50-yard run, and he's fiddling with somebody to his left, he's got to say in his head, there are other players that are chasing me, and they're gonna pounce on me, because nobody quits in the NFL. They don't just let you run 50 yards or more. You're always going to have somebody in pursuit. He took 2 pops last week, and that was unnecessary. He needs to go, and he doesn't realize how valuable he is to the team and to this city, okay? Because I'm honestly sick of quarterback controversies. This morning, the junkies were trying to dredge up Mariota and saying maybe it's not Daniels. It's the system that's real good. And I'm sick of going all the way back to Sonny and Billy when this quarterback controversy crap started. And then it was Doug Williams and Jay Schrader. I'm sick of it. And I want him to realize that we want him for 10, 12, 15 years to be our quarterback like a Marino or a Montana or Drew Brees or whatever. We want him to be here, and he's got to understand his value, and not only to that team, but to this freaking city, because we're sick. We've had 55 quarterbacks since Sonny Jurgensen. Freaking 55 freaking quarterbacks. That's crazy. Sometimes we've had 3 in one season. That's stupid. And he's got to realize I get what I get and I slide, or I get what I get and I run out of bounds. Because I don't want to hear when he goes into a slump, and he's going to go into a slump, and then all of a sudden you hear the Washington Post sports page or the fans start chanting Mariota. Because that's what DQ did
All right,
this
Mike,
year.
I've let you go on for quite a while here because you got
one more point.
Make it quick, Mike.
DQ did this. In the beginning, he got rid of Hal. That was genius because you had howlers that were fans. If Jayden got into a slump, those fans in the stands would start chanting.
Yes, you're correct, but also no one's doing that for Marcus Mariota. Mike, you made a lot of great points. That's why I let you go because I think there were a lot of interesting things being said there, but we get the point. And we got now a full phone line, so I want to try to get some other calls in. I just want to respond to a couple of things real quick. One, calling risky, stupid, like whatever label you want to use, whatever. I do think Jayden does need to realize his value to the team, and I think by and large he probably does realize the value to his team. I think instead of thinking that the guy doesn't get it, I think perhaps sometimes we should give a little bit more credence to athletes who are making split-second decisions in very real time at speeds that are incredibly difficult to understand. We are normalized by watching it on television. And frankly, we're even normalized by watching it in the stands. Unless you have been on an NFL sideline or in an NFL game, it is damn near impossible to realize how quickly you have to make decisions in this league. And so I also point out that was the first time that Jayden's really, truly been in the open field like that in the NFL. You don't get to be in the open field. He's had some big, spaces, but a lot of those are scrambles, whatever, where he's kind of being directed out of bounds. There are no cutback lanes possible. But to be at the third level, to have run past the safety and then be like, okay, now I got to make decisions. That is a different deal that he's never had to do before. And I would hope that he learns for both efficacy and safety that just go to the outside. If you get run out of bounds, you get run out of bounds. But he is making a decision as a competitor in real time, and I do not want to take away his competitiveness out of fear for something that, yes, obviously can happen, but can happen in a million other ways. You can't injury-proof football, and eventually you have to let the kid play, and he's largely been available. And I'm not just talking about now, like at Arizona State, LSU, it's not like he's missing 7 games a year. So he's tough, he's durable, he got bent funny. He does need to learn, absolutely, that there are guys that can catch him at this level, even though he runs away from a lot of them, and he ran away from everybody in the SEC, which is supposed to be the fastest league in the world, non-NFL caliber. And that's going to be a learning lesson for him. But I also don't want to overreact. And I thought Mike's perspective was great in terms of what he means to the city and the franchise, but I don't think Jayden doesn't know that. It doesn't mean, though, that every time he breaks the pocket, he needs to think about, there have been 55 guys since Sonny. Oh, no, I can't possibly let it get to number 56. He's got to go play football. And hopefully he'll continue to play football smarter over the course of his career. Tell you what, we never do this. Anthony, can you text Phillips and ask if he can do 5:15? We have a ton of phone calls, and I would like to take them. So either Michael's not going to be able to move, and we'll get back to the phones at 5:15, and we're just going to do one segment instead of 2 with Michael. So a little bit shorter with Phillips, even though I'm sure he's got great stuff. There's only so much to say about the game itself, but I want to keep taking calls. So we're mostly going to do that over the next half hour on the Hoffman Show. So if you're on hold, don't go anywhere. 301-230-0980. There's also 3 lines open if you want to get in here on the Hoffman Show. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. And Anthony, before we get back to the calls real quick, Phillips is going to join us in 15 minutes. Appreciate Michael's flexibility. And I do want to get to a bunch of calls. But I just sometimes people make it really easy to dunk on them. And, sometimes they're just trolls and they want attention. But we have a Bears fan who seems to have lost his way, Anthony, and has found his way into the YouTube chat. And he used some dumb nickname for Jayden, and then called Caleb Williams King Caleb. And then he goes, "We whooped y'all last year with Justin Fields, poverty franchise. Toothpick Daniels is injury prone." Anthony, time for one of my favorite games, Chicago Bears quarterback trivia. You ready for this?
I think so.
Who is the all-time leading passer in the history of the Chicago Bears?
Probably Jay Cutler.
That is correct, Anthony. It is Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler with 23,000 yards. You want to know who's second?
Rex Grossman.
No, Rex Grossman he's actually 15th. So he's a little further down the list. Justin Fields is 10th, by the way.
Oh, wow.
You know who's the 5th all-time leading passer?
The Bears?
Yeah.
I can't even think of another Bears quarterback.
Mitchell Trubisky.
Wow.
Jim McMahon is 4th. Jim Harbaugh. Yeah, that Jim Harbaugh is 3rd. Sid Luckman, who retired in 1950, is 2nd. And he's 9,000 yards behind Jay Cutler. That's how much better Jay Cutler was than every single quarterback in the history of the Bears. And by the way, Jay Cutler's record with the Bears, 51-51. They have a losing franchise record in the history in the playoffs. They have one Super Bowl. The Commanders had the worst owner in the history of sports for 25 years, and they still have 3 times the Lombardis than you do. Carlos, shut up. You'll sound smarter.
You feeling better?
No, I hate people like that. What? Do anything else with your time. Perhaps call a therapist. Clearly you need to talk about some stuff. Anyway, 301-230-0980 is the phone number. Let's go to, on this Tell the Truth Monday, let's go to Nigel in PG County. Nigel, thanks for holding. You're on the Hoffman Show.
What's up, Craig? How you feeling?
I am feeling slightly better after dunking on that stupid Bears fan, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, we appreciate that as fellow Commanders fans. I got 2 truths, though, Craig. One is the simple truth. We got a good football team, and I think this second point I'm about to make is going to lead into my second truth. I think the fan base is having a hard time accepting that, which is crazy to me. Like, we've been waiting for this so long, and I feel like every week I listen to y'all show almost every day because I do transportation for a living, so I'm in the car a lot. So I listen to your show every day, and every week we got somebody calling in. This is for the fans. This is my second Tell the Truth. Talking about Jayden taking hits and Jayden need to get down, this, that, and the third. Yo, he's not out there playing flag football. He's playing tackle football. Eventually he's going to get touched. And I feel like it's a level of delusion with our fan base thinking that this guy is never going to have an injury or get an injury. And it don't even really have too much with him being a running quarterback because we saw guys like Tom Brady, pure pocket passes. Peyton Manning had major injuries. Peyton Manning had a major neck injury. Tom Brady suffered injuries playing from the pocket. So he's still playing football. I just think this fan base is so stuck on the RG3 thing that happened. And, of course, it was something that was very tragic. But Jayden's not RG3. And we got to let that go. We got to let him go out there, like you said a few minutes ago, Craig. Let him go out there and play football. If we change the offense and Jayden's no longer a running factor, do you think our offense is going to look the same? I can answer that, no.
Right.
'Cause that plays a factor in how the defenses play against us. His legs is a factor. So, I mean, he's going to get hit. He's going to take hits. And to me, I've attended 3 games, and I watched the rest on TV. He's doing a pretty good job. He's not out there just getting blasted. He's not out there getting blasted. He's getting down when he can. I mean, he ran for 50 yards. I mean, as a former athlete, and I'm quite sure, you know what I'm saying, you guys can attest to this too, Craig, like, when you're out there and you're playing, that's not your first. He's not thinking, oh, my God, let me get down on the ground. Like, he's trying to make a play. He's an athlete first. So I think the fans they just got to stop with that. Like, it really drives me crazy when I listen to the show and somebody every week, Jayden needs to get down. He doesn't realize. Yeah, he does realize. He's smart. Y'all don't think that man's smart? Y'all think he want to go home sore after the game? He don't want to get hit, but some plays, you know what I'm saying, he can't avoid the hit. Some plays he's going to get hit. Some plays he may wait too late to get down. Even on that run yesterday, I was there in the stadium. He tried to get down. The guy just flopped on his back. And, it was a tragic, that's a tackle that happened. It happens. It happens to running backs all the time, receivers, other positions. But because of the quarterback, we act like, oh, yeah. And they already protect the quarterback. He might as well have a red jersey on out there. You already can barely touch the quarterback in the game as it is.
For sure. Hey, I think if Adam Peters could put a red jersey on Jayden Daniels, he'd be like, sure, that's fine. Let's do that. We'll blow the play dead. But they take it off on Sundays.
Right. So that's just my only thing. The second tell the truth is for the fans. Like, we got to let that go. Like, let the boy play football. He's fine. Dan Quinn said hopefully he's going to play Sunday, which based off the way Jayden looked when he came back from out the tunnel and the way he was acting and moving around after game, he's going to play Sunday.
Yeah,
and
he's young.
That's just the organization. Yeah, and if he doesn't, that's the organization being smart. We should appreciate that.
Yeah, no, that's a great point too, Darius. Nigel, I gotta let you run. Appreciate the call because we got a bunch of other calls here. Let's go to Nigel's point. Yes, 100%. That doesn't mean that he's 100% getting decisions right. He can get out of bounds or get down earlier at some times. We've seen that adjustment already starting to happen, but he's going to encounter new situations, like being in the open field like this for the first time, and he'll navigate it better the next time. His learning curve is crazy. That's why he is who he is. Let's go to Jason. Jason, thanks for calling. You are on the Hoffman Show.
Hey, Craig. Thanks for taking my call.
You got it.
I'll be quick. Just 2 quick points.
Yep.
Oh, you can hear me?
Yep, I got you.
Sorry. This team is legit. I think that was proven yesterday. It's so refreshing. If you watch any of the pregame broadcasts, all the experts say the same thing about the Commanders is how balanced they are. They're able to run the ball. They're able to throw the ball. They've got pass catchers. And then you add a dynamic quarterback on top of that. It's just this team is very legit. I think people just need to realize that. Also, just a side note, too, I'm not sure who our number 2 receiver is at this point between Brown and Zacchaeus, and I'm okay with that. I think it's awesome that on any given day, one of them is capable of a big play or doing whatever we need. But the second point I was going to make with regards to Jayden, I think what stood out the most is they didn't put him back in because they realized they didn't need to. And that's awesome. They did not pander to the fans. They did not pander to the crowd. They said, this team's good. We know we're going to win. Go ahead and take the rest of the day off. And something about that just really struck me as Dan Quinn really knows what he's doing and really believes in this team. So I think yesterday was awesome. It's a shame he got hurt, but he'll be fine.
Jason, thanks for the call. And it is very, very fun to watch competent professionals do their jobs. And that is what is happening here. Because, sometimes guys get hurt. They go back in the game. They finish it out. They gut it out. Oh, it's gritty. And then all of a sudden you get the imaging back. And you're like, oh, we probably shouldn't have put him back in. They didn't mess around with that yesterday. And I do think that's part of the reason why you can actually trust Dan in this situation. He said, it's going to be my call, which to me tells me the doctors have told him whatever he needs to know. It's a performance-based thing. And if he thinks Jayden can go out and play, he's going to do it, but he also is not going to put him out there knowing that he wants to be, Dan Quinn wants this to be his last job. Not because he gets fired and no one wants to hire him again, because Dan wants to be the next, I don't say this from an ego place. I say this as a matter of fact. He would love to be the next Joe Gibbs. He would love to be here for 15, 20 years, maybe not 20, but 15 years, retire and be like, me and Joe, greatest Washington coaches of all time. And I know that sounds crazy in year one, but if he can be the key for Dan to do that is Jayden Daniels. If Jayden Daniels is a Hall of Fame quarterback playing at a Hall of Fame level, Dan Quinn becomes a Hall of Fame coach. That's just how it is if you win a couple rings. So he knows that the long term is where this is for him, for the team, for Jayden, for anybody that he cares about their opinion. And if that means they lose the game to the Bears and Marcus Mariota gets to play against this really good Bears defense, and CBS and Tony Romo's like, oh, Jim, we came here for Jayden versus. That's not what Romo sounds like outside of the, oh, Jim part of it. Then so be it. Sorry, CBS. All right, last but not least, let's go to Reggie in D.C. Reggie, thanks for calling. You are on the Hoffman Show. Wrap us up here on a Tell the Truth Monday.
Hey, Craig, man, love the show, man. My guy Nigel, man, literally took the words out of my mouth. You know what hit scared me? Because I was at the Cleveland game, and I think he got sacked maybe 3 or 4 times. You know, like that pile when, you know, like he couldn't escape. And so that was scaring me more than his run. You know what other tackle that scared me was the freaking Kyle Hamilton. I don't know if you remember when he was kind of rolling to the right. And Kyle Hamilton came a beeline. I'm like, oh, man, what if he hit his back? Quarterbacks are going to get hit. This is my tell the truth. Like, Craig, I'm scared, man, because we have the number 1 scoring offense. We are top 5 in yardage. So I'm looking at the team strictly offensively. So I think what we like, if Ben Sinnott can take the next step, because I love Zach Ertz. Ertz is going to run the yardage. I mean, the routes. He's going to be consistent, but he's not going to get that yak. If we can get kind of like that young Travis Kelce, like that yards after catch, this offense, like, Craig, what are you seeing? So my tell the truth is I'm nervous because, okay, can the offense get better? And if so, how, when you're leading the league in scoring, you're top 5 in yardage, you like, we used to be the Carolina Panthers last year. Like, everybody Dallas beat us 45-10. The freaking, what was that? With Tyreek Hill, we playing man-to-man coverage, and he freaking doing rowboat dancing and what is it, freaking roller coasters with us in the end zone. You know, we had the little mirage against the Eagles when we went to play against them twice, but we were Carolina last year. Now, and I was listening to, I'm reading your chat, I'm reading everybody. We're a little nervous. Andy Dalton has been playing great. You know, this is one of those games after emotional, you know, loss, and you fought against the Ravens. How would you do the next game? We blew Carolina out. So I'm thinking, so from your perspective and your eyes, what do you see? Strictly offense. I know defense, we got a long way to go. What would you add?
I mean, you get better with where you are. You get better in some of the individual pieces where, you know, the offensive line, I think, like, they're doing a tremendous job of insulating that group. And I think that's what you have to do. But, like, what if you get a Trent Williams caliber left tackle instead of a rotation? Like, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing, right? It's just like, can you get better individual pieces? Can you take, you know, an Olamide Zaccheaus and upgrade him to whatever the deluxe version of that is? Keep the toughness, keep some of the shake, but make it even more explosive. And if that's a rookie next year whose name I don't even know yet, like, those are the kinds of things that I think are interesting. I think your tight end point's a good one. Like, Zach provides a ton. What if, you know, to use Logan's term, Ben Sinnott learns all the dark arts of route running from Zach and then can enhance it with some bigger explosive plays, a la a young Zach Ertz when he was back in Philly back in the day. I think that's the biggest thing. And then I know you said strictly offense, but I think the other part of it is if this defense becomes better, this offense can be even better, because there are the times where they've struggled, right, is the complementary football. I don't even say struggle because they haven't really struggled, but when they're at their best, they can play the complementary, run it, pass it, play action. You never know what's coming. And while Jaden proved he can be good in drop back, it's better to have the better game flow. All right, last thing real quick, Reggie.
I got one more.
Yeah.
Who did you want as our coach? Were you a Quinn guy or were you a Ben Johnson guy?
I mean,
I can't remember where you stood at. Where were you?
Initially, before they did all the interviews, I was hella intrigued by Johnson. The more I heard about Quinn and the more I talked to Logan, especially, and because Logan played for him in Atlanta, I was like, I'm pretty good with Dan Quinn. So I liked both of them, and never got to learn more about Johnson because of how the process went. But I was, both at varying points of the process.
Okay. Love the show, man. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, you got it, Reggie. Thank you. Good questions, good points, great calls all around. And we got someone else who's going to be on the phone next. His name is Michael Phillips, and he used to write for the Richmond Times-Dispatch, covered the team on the beat for over 10 years, now hosts a show down in Richmond on our sister station, 910 The Fan. He joins us every single Monday. Phillips next here on the Team 980. It's Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Typically, we do this at 5 o'clock, but appreciate our guests' flexibility today, considering we had full phone lines talking Jayden Daniels and much more. But it is now time for Not My Beat.
Today's top story from the perspective of someone who's there.
You are looking live.
This just in.
Not My Beat.
Michael Phillips, nice enough to join us each and every Monday from 910 The Fan down in Richmond. Michael, how are you, my friend?
I'm week to week, aren't we all? To paraphrase a famous baseball announcer.
Yes, we are all. I mean, I feel more day to day, but maybe that's just a personal thing. Let me ask you though, Michael. Like, genuinely, after doing your show today, going through it all, now hearing from Dan Quinn this afternoon. Like, Danny Rouye and I did the Take Command postgame last night, and we were like, we're supposed to be excited, but oh my God, there's something missing here. How are you feeling basically 24 hours later after Daniels leaves the game?
I think it's okay to be excited about everything else, and we'll dive into the everything else, but I don't want to overlook the fact that we were told this defense wasn't going to be able to stop Carolina, because I said that. I was part of the tweet that said that this, I thought the Commanders would win, obviously, but, if you had guessed shutout into the fourth quarter, I don't think a lot of people were saying that. So a lot of good things happen, and it's okay to be happy for those good things. B-Rob, 6 yards a carry. McNichols, 6 yards a carry. Another great day for the receivers. I think there's a lot to be very happy about. It's also okay to acknowledge it's a quarterback-driven league. It's a town that's been without a quarterback forever. We found one. The one thing we keep talking about on the radio is, gee, this kind of feels like the last guy. Remember when he got hurt and all the air got taken out of the room, and then he got hurt. So it's certainly okay to acknowledge everybody's a little tenuous here. I would just say I don't think this is a career-altering injury in any way, and I don't even think this is going to alter how they use him when he gets back to full health. Obviously, it alters how you use him when he's not at full health. But when Jayden gets back to full health, Craig, I don't think it fundamentally changes how you use him.
No, I totally agree. Like, this was kind of a weird hit. It's something that could affect his ability to throw the football, could affect his ability to run in the short term, but that short term might be like Thursday. It might be 2 Thursdays from now, and that would be less than ideal. I would love to see him against a great Chicago defense. I don't think I'm overstating it. Like, that Chicago defense is really good. Then again, every unit we've described as good, this team is absolutely thrashed outside of the ones wearing Baltimore purple this year. So what do we know about anything? But I agree with you, Michael. Like, I'm not changing the plan here when it comes to Jayden Daniels. Like, I'm going to let Jayden be Jayden. It's just we got to make sure that he's Jayden going into the game, that when it comes to the performance and the injury and how Dan Quinn manages it. And honestly, here's the other thing I wanted to ask you. I trust Dan Quinn to make this decision, what's right for Jayden and the team in the short and long term. What's your level of trust in DQ to not do something in the short term that's too aggressive that risks anything long term?
Well, and that's what's nice here. You do have all incentives aligned. I agree with you on the trust question. Nobody is in a hot seat year, right? That's when bad things start happening, when, oh my gosh, we have to win this game this month, this playoff spot this year. Nobody's thinking that way, and that's a top-down tone, right, that we've talked about it extensively before. They really want to win the Super Bowl in 2 to 3 years with Jayden Daniels, who's developed properly, and the general manager, who I think is very good at his job, has built a nice roster around him, which is not right now, and that's okay. Even with Jayden's at full health, this isn't a Super Bowl team. I think everybody sees that. I said that this morning on the radio, and somebody got mad at me. This isn't a Super Bowl team, though, but it could be in a couple of years, right? And so all incentives are to develop looking forward. The bummer of that is, I agree with you, this was a really fun matchup. This is awesome. The Bears and the Commanders, the number 1 pick against the number 2 pick, a really good defense against an improving defense, an untouchable offense. Tony Romo's there, Jim Nance is there. We really did have it all this weekend. It was going to be a phenomenal football game, just like we said the Baltimore game was going to be great. And then, by the way, that one delivered. The bummer is, even if he plays this weekend, it's not at 100% this quickly. So I think that's the bummer of it all.
Well, that's the thing, though, is I don't know that if he does play this weekend, it's not going to be 100%, because if it's 98, I think that might sit him. which against big game, big test, like all the competitive juices are going to want him to be out there, both his and DQ's, and like Adam Peters does not like losing. Even though he knows about the big picture, like that is a competitive dude. So I don't know. We'll see. I will know a lot more, I think, by the time that Jayden takes the practice field Wednesday and kind of what he does, and especially Thursday. I think we'll understand a lot more about Jayden's situation. Let's circle back to the defense, though. Michael Phillips, 910 The Fan, with us. You can listen to MP on the mic, 10 a.m. to noon on 910 The Fan. Too many numbers, Michael. Too many numbers. Math, not my strong suit.
We'll work on reducing some numbers for you, Craig, immediately.
The show starts at 10 a.m. in the D.C. area. Listen on the Odyssey app. There are no numbers. Okay. What impressed you so much about the defense?
Yeah, we've talked about the need to get takeaways. They get 2 takeaways right away, impact plays in the game. But also that defensive line without John Allen really held stout against a very nice, rushing attack and a team that had been able to do some things recently. And I'm not going to sit here on your radio program, Craig, and pretend to everybody that the Carolina Panthers are a good football team. They're clearly not, but they do some things well, and Chuba Hubbard does some things well, and he wasn't able to do those things yesterday. And so I think that's another step forward, right? You talk about it's just the Arizona Cardinals. It's just the Cleveland Browns. It's just the Carolina Panthers. Okay, but they're all NFL teams that have done some things this year, and we're kind of stacking these but games. So I think there's something to be said for this defense making progress.
I agree. There's something to be said for it. I thought they were super sticky in coverage, and I watched the first half tape back. Like, it wasn't like Andy Dalton was missing dudes. Like there weren't dudes available.
This was not a Watson situation. I think that is very important to note. Yeah.
No, for sure. Their receivers are only so good. But like the Commanders did an excellent job defensively. They were enhanced by the fact that they knew what they had to do because they didn't care if they gave up running yards to Chuba Hubbard because they were up 10-0 before the game had barely even started. But I wonder if, Michael, if you have a theory on this. It's something I plan on exploring on the show this week. The Panthers are horrendous. The Browns are horrendous. There's a couple other teams, the Patriots, the Jags. Like, someone had to win that game yesterday in London. Good job on the Jags for doing it, but God, those two teams suck. Why is there so much bad football right now? Like, do you have a working theory on that?
Well, I don't. Looking at it holistically, my only, you try to grab a trend line that runs through them. The Patriots don't fit this mold, but overpaid on a quarterback who isn't as good as you think he is probably as close as you can get to a trend line that connects the bad teams in football right now. In the Panthers' case, that's not fiscal. That's of course the draft capital and the trade they made. If you do that, if you miss at that position, it makes everything else worse and it snowballs. That said, I don't honestly believe that Trevor Lawrence is that bad. I think he's certainly done some things in the NFL. I think bad operations, bad owners. Again, I don't think Robert Kraft is a bad owner, right? So you've got an exception there, but Cleveland, Carolina, Jacksonville, unquestionably bad ownership situations. How nice is it that we're not in that group, by the way? How nice is it that we're not in the bad ownership group? I don't know if we're in the good ownership group, but I know for a fact we're not in the bad ownership group. And, man, that just means so much.
I'm pretty sure we're in the big good ownership group, dude. Like, I don't know what else Josh Harris is supposed to do besides hire great people, spend a bunch of money, be invested in the right things. Like, I realize that it's got to play out over time, and you got to keep doing those things. And, the hole was so big that just getting back to ground level makes you look like amazing. But like, I think they're doing more than just getting back to ground level. I think they have filled a bunch of holes already, built a foundation, and they are building a very, very nice house from an infrastructure standpoint. I'm pretty sure Josh Harris is pretty good at this.
Yeah, but you're right. There's a lot of bad football. There's also some fascinating good football being played, and certainly I'm looking at the Minnesota Vikings first in that, but I'm also looking at the Chiefs, who have spent all their money on offense, now somehow don't have a good offense and are undefeated because the defense got good. You wonder if the takeaway from this season in the NFL isn't going to be, quarterback's important, coaching may be more important. Brock Purdy's struggling now. Aaron Rodgers is struggling. We're really seeing a spectrum of quarterback play across the league. You can take your pick on which of those guys you want to talk about, but it's a fascinating time.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think that's probably a good tie on when you have a bad quarterback, you're bad. And when you have a bad quarterback that you paid a lot of money for, you're going to be really, really bad because you were paying that guy to elevate the rest of your roster. And he's doing the anti that. Michael Phillips, 910 The Fan down in Richmond. You can check it out every single day on the Odyssey app, or if you're driving through 910 a.m. or 105.1 FM there in Central Virginia. Michael, always a pleasure, sir, and we will talk to you next week. Are you coming to the game on Sunday? You and I both did not go to this Sunday's game. Planning on being in the press box on Sunday. Will I see you there?
Yeah, we're letting Grant Paulson skate with all this. I get to spread out my stuff. I get to call the shots. I get to have a nice pregame meal without Hoffman and Phillips. That ends Sunday. Jaden Daniels might be questionable for this game. I am not. I will be in my seat at kickoff. Don't you worry about that.
Hot damn. Look out, Grant Paulson. We're coming for you. And Chris Russell, you might just be in the way. That's a seating chart joke. That means something to 4 people and nobody else. Michael Phillips, everybody.
I love Chris Russell. This isn't about him though. This is about Paulson. I want Grant Paulson. I want him on Sunday. Let's go.
Goodbye, Michael. And there he goes. I didn't know if he was going to say goodbye at the end. That's why I didn't hang up as he laughed, Anthony.
I didn't know either.
He laughed and then he flipped his phone. He hit end, not me.
Yes.
Michael Phillips, everybody. What a guy. When we get back, speaking of some bad football, there's some bad football games we got to talk about. Speaking of good football, there are some hella good football games we got to talk about. Anthony and I go around the NFL next on the Team 980. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We go around the NFL in a moment, but I've been waiting to hit this button for like half an hour now.
Breaking news. Oh, snap. News is broken. Breaking news.
Today, the day before the NBA season, is the extension deadline for fourth-year players. So rookie extensions. These are the inexpensive but like still really nice if you're the actual player deals that typically get done if you haven't been extended already. For the Wizards this time around, it was Corey Kispert's turn, and he has been extended. About 30 minutes ago, Shams Charania of ESPN had to be done by the 6 o'clock deadline, but he reported that the Wizards got it done well before. It is a 4-year, $54 million extension for Kispert. Starting tomorrow here on the Team 980, including in this time spot at 5:30, we are going to bring you a ton of Wizards content leading into Thursday's opener, where we'll be live at Capital One Arena, including interviews with Corey Kispert. Obviously, we recorded, well, I guess not obviously, but we recorded with Corey on Media Day, as we did a bunch of other players, including Alex Sarr, Jordan Poole, Kyle Kuzma, and those interviews are going to be dispersed through the show over the next couple of days. But we might also get Corey back on the show live now that he signed this extension. So we're working on that with the Wizards right now. But Corey Kispert, 4-year, $54 million extension. Excellent work out of Will Dawkins and company because he's a really important part of what they do. And he's also a guy that I think, as we talk about the Commanders and their rebuild and some of the key pieces and like, hey, who does it the right way? And Corey Kispert's not, John Allen or Terry McLaurin level as a player in terms of he's not going to make an all-star team. But of a guy who was here before the current regime but does exactly what they want, Corey Kispert's that guy. And so it's great to see him rewarded. Corey and his mustache, a 4-year, $54 million extension. And with that, Anthony, now the breaking news has been covered, and it is time to go around the NFL. We had football in London. Actually, first of all, before we even get to that, clearly this is the most important thing in this segment. Always, Anthony, our records last week were incredible. 13-1 for each of us. What's up? We got Thursday Night Football right. We both picked the Broncos over the Saints. So add 14 to one column, 1 to the other. And where do we stand before we go over all these games?
We are at 57 and 35, and then, well, you're at 57 and 35. I'm at 56 and 36.
Ooh, I think I had a good week too. So I don't know.
You think so?
I think so. You might have. I mean, we weren't that different, or we were different on a couple.
Yeah,
so
just a couple.
Maybe Anthony's gonna pull ahead.
Maybe.
May be.
Not. Maybe.
We'll find out. Well, Commanders Panthers, we got that one right. We've been talking about it all show. We'll get back to it in our pick 6 at 6. Patriots and Jags. Jags 32. Patriots 16. Do you realize how bad you have to be defensively to give up 32 points to the Jaguars? Well, maybe not that bad because actually some of this came on special teams. But dang, just an absolute butt kicking over in London thanks to a 22-point second quarter for Jacksonville. Drake May did look good again, 26 of 37 for 276 and 2 touchdowns, but not enough. Jags pull out the win. They're 2-5. Hooray!
You know you picked the Patriots?
Are you serious?
I'm joking. Oh, my God. I've never seen you move so fast, Craig.
That's actually probably... Oh, actually, no. We haven't done anything truly athletic together.
I didn't really have anything to add. The Jags whooped their butt.
They did. You didn't pick the Patriots, did you?
No.
Okay. Hey, it's not like picking the Jags makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside.
Right.
Definitely got this one wrong. Seahawks 34, Falcons 14. I knew this was going to happen, though. Just when you think the Seahawks are dead and just when you think the Falcons are finally figuring it out, they throw up absolute opposite performances. And the Seahawks look great. They play a full game. Their offense is doing some stuff. They got trick plays. Jackson Smith and Jigba had the crazy throw to DK Metcalf. Yeah. That was nuts. Geno throws for 2 touchdowns. Their defense is making plays. And then Kirk, you're like, man, he's cooking. Nope. 1 touchdown, 2 picks, a couple of just mind-blowing decisions. Bijan did average almost 5 yards a carry and had a touchdown. Tyler Algier averaged 7 a carry, but they can't convert in the red zone. And ultimately, that is an absolute killer. Kirk, the 2 big picks, and that's how you have 155 yards rushing, and you still only score 14 points. Seattle, 20-point winners over Atlanta.
Yeah, the turnovers were just at bad times. Like, they'd be moving. Bijan, of course, had himself a day. The run game looked to be working, and then you just have these timely turnovers by the Seahawks to help propel you to a victory. I think the bigger story coming out of the game, though, Seahawks losing DK Metcalf, I think that's going to hurt a lot of it. But you still do have Tyler Lockett. You still do have Jackson Smith and Jigba. But I think, DK losing them is going to hurt.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a huge loss for them. And, again, like Falcons on the Commanders schedule later this year. Who knows what's going to show up when they finally get there. Bills 34, Titans 10. This was like a blowout in slow motion. Very, very weird. And then it happens, very quickly at the end. 17-0 fourth quarter, 27-0 in the second half. But because the first half of this game was competitive and the Bills kind of just couldn't quite get it going, then all of a sudden they just explode in the second half. It felt like it was close longer than it really was. Josh Allen, 21 of 33 for 323 and 2 touchdowns. Keon Coleman, 4 for 125 and an assist. Hey, Amari, run the seam here. Amari Cooper, his first TD with the Bills on a play where he didn't know what the audible was, and Keon Coleman told him, and then he scored a touchdown because that's the kind of day it was for them.
Yeah, I didn't know that play happened like that. I did see Cooper get into the end zone. But, yeah, the first half, I was in shock. How are you guys down 10-0 to the Titans? But then,
it's kind of like the Bills' first game of the year against the Cardinals. You're like, what are you guys doing?
Yep.
And then it's like, oh.
Yeah, they poured it on after that.
Okay. So. Yeah. Bengals 21, Browns 14. Bengals had a nice little pop there in the third quarter that ultimately wins them the game. Dorian Thompson-Robinson relieves Deshaun Watson, who has an Achilles injury and is torn Achilles, ruptured Achilles, and is out for the year. Anthony, I don't want to just bog down on this for now. Maybe we'll come back and revisit it later. But the consternation from Watson's teammates after the game, I understand on a human level because they can see themselves being hurt and they don't want people cheering an injury or whatever. But Jameis Winston's thing after the game was so impossibly ridiculous. And the fact that it comes from Jameis Winston, who, like Deshaun Watson, has been accused of sexual misconduct / assault in the past. Back when Winston was at Florida State, there was an incident with an Uber driver. Yeah, Deshaun Watson's not a victim here. What happened to him is obviously not good. I'm not going to be like, yay, he's hurt, because that's evil. The point is that people should be treated well, and Deshaun Watson did terrible things to people. And I thought Danny Parkins put this very well on Breakfast Ball, his new show on Fox this morning, Fox Sports 1 with Craig Carton and Mark Schlereth. And Parkins was just like, there are actual victims in the Deshaun Watson story. Deshaun Watson is not one of them. So while, yes, cheering someone getting hurt, there is a cruelness to that I'm not going to be like, yeah, he got hurt. Like, I will say I'm happy for Browns fans that don't want to cheer for Deshaun Watson. Good for them. Like, I wish it happened because he got benched and banished from the league because he deserves it, not because he ruptured his Achilles. But I'm happy for Browns fans that don't have to cheer for Deshaun Watson anymore because they didn't ask to do that. And the fact that he was terrible shouldn't be the reason that he's not playing quarterback. The fact that he's injured is not the reason that he shouldn't be playing quarterback. The fact that he was an awful person who doesn't deserve to be cheered for is why he should have never been playing quarterback. And I'm happy that that conundrum no longer exists. Deshaun Watson is not a victim. Deshaun Watson can go rehab his injury, and if the Browns want to bring him back, that's between them. But for right now, he's no longer of the public interest, and thank God for that, albeit the reason cruel, and that is the nature of football. So that's that. Also, T. Higgins scored. Texans, they go down 22-24 on a last-second field goal from Brandon McManus, who's had quite the year. Obviously, the former Commanders kicker who never actually kicked for the Commanders because of his own accusations of sexual misconduct that were eventually cleared. He signed with the Packers, and his first week on the job, he has a game-winning field goal, Anthony. Really bizarre clock management by the Texans late in this one. And just when I started to believe in the Texans that I know they haven't been playing great. The process isn't ideal, but the results are happening. The process getting a little better. They go up to Green Bay and 3-point second half. Not great.
Yeah, they definitely should have ran the clock. They tried, and then they got like too passive, in a sense. These are the games you got to go out there and just flat out win. The game was too close. They got too passive. Maybe they felt their defense was going to be able to, get a stop.
Or maybe they just felt like they couldn't do anything because, C.J. Stroud, bro, 10 of 21 for 86 yards.
Yeah, that was bad stuff.
That's not good.
Hey, look, he needs his boy Nico, man. He needs his boy Nico Collins. That's his third down guy. That's who he always resorts to. And if you ain't got your security blanket, it's a little treacherous out there, man.
They also have no explosiveness. Stephon Diggs was targeted 7 times. He had 5 catches for 23 yards.
Yeah.
That's 4.6 per. By the way, that's with a 17-yarder.
Wow.
So his other 4 catches were for 6 yards. It's math so small that I can do it.
Did Tank Dell have 0 yards, I think? I saw that.
Tank Dell, 0 catches for 0 yards on 4 targets.
Yeah.
When you only have 86, there ain't a lot of yards to go around.
Yeah.
That is a brutal performance by a guy who has been tremendous in C.J. Stroud. The fact that it was a 3-point game is kind of impressive for the rest of the Texans. They got to pick Jordan Love off a couple times, but too much. I will say, though, Anthony, the line in that game was 2.5, which might be relevant on Wednesday.
Oh, my gosh. No, the hook.
The hook might have hooked one of us in a way that's good. I don't know. We'll find out on Wednesday. All right, we'll get to the back half of the schedule next as we go around the NFL on the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Our pick six at 6, coming up at 6 o'clock. We look at the Commanders' demolition of the Panthers through the lens of 6 players that we identified that we thought would be pretty darn important on Friday. Some definitely interesting guys that we chose. So when you go back and now know the results of how things went down. But we wrap up going around the NFL first. And Anthony, have you been tracking, by the way, how we did picks-wise here?
I have indeed.
How we doing so far?
You are 5-2. I'm 6-1, sir.
Oh, what was the difference?
The Texans was 1 game, and then we both got the Falcons game wrong.
Dagger. Yeah. All right, Colts and Dolphins. Your boys did enough on defense to overcome. Speaking of bad quarterback play, we're just talking about C.J. Stroud. Oh my God, Anthony Richardson, 10 of 24 for $129. He competes. He'll make plays with his legs. There's some good stuff that happens there, but there's a couple of these teams that have taken young quarterbacks that if things don't start going in the right direction, they have to seriously consider, are we going to have to go down that road again? And, I liked Anthony Richardson probably more than I should coming out. It was easy for me to do it because, hey, if he's good, great. If it's not my team. But he has got to figure out some accuracy stuff if they want to be a better football team.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna face that Dolphins offense every week.
Yeah, Anthony's got to be better, flat out.
Yeah. And he knows it. That's part of the reason I like him, is I like his makeup. He's just eventually the physical stuff's got to catch up. Wanting it is a good start, but got to do it. Lions 31, Vikings 29. Amazing football game. Jared Goff, who earlier this year went 18 for 18 in a game, went 22 of 25 for 280 and 2 touchdowns. Jahmyr Gibbs, 15 carries, 116, 2 touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 8 for 112 and a touchdown. It's not like the Vikings played poorly. Like, Sam Darnold was dealing. He has 20. Like, there were, let's see, there's 5 there, 3 there. There's 8 incompletions in the entire game, Anthony.
Yeah, I mean, they look good. The quarterback play wasn't the reason for either, I guess, for the Vikings.
Yeah, no. Outside of they needed, this isn't just on the quarterback. They needed 1 2-point conversion, or they needed 1 more defensive stop. And that'd be that. But 31-29, both teams now 5-1. Just an outstanding game, though. And, the Vikings defense really stepped up in the second half after a 21-point second quarter for Detroit. They obviously get the crazy fumble at the end of this game when David Montgomery puts it on the turf. He had a bad day because he got hurt early. It wasn't very effective. Big fumble. And then Detroit finds a way back. And, the book on Jared Goff used to be just light him up, get as much pressure as possible. He goes against Brian Flores, and he does that. Whew. Jared Goff, who knew? Players can get better. They can learn. They can improve. Eagles 28, Giants 3. This is amazing. The Eagles scored 28 points with Jalen Hurts throwing 14 passes. He was 10 of 14 for 114 and a touchdown. One of them, that touchdown, so a ton of the yards, comes on a 41-yard bomb down the sideline to A.J. Brown. I think it was on a 4th down. And then Saquon Barkley just goes absolutely bananas, 17 for 176. How much do you think he hates the Giants?
A ton. To go out there and average 10 yards a carry, I think you really, had
on 17 carries.
Yeah. He had to get something off his chest. That's all.
He did. 28-3. Yikes. Rams 20, Raiders 15 in LA. I'm not gonna lie, Anthony. I did not watch a second of this game.
Craig, can I be honest with you?
You didn't either.
I did not.
I have no thoughts on this game. Apparently, here, let's learn about this game together. Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell both played.
Yeah, he got hurt. Aiden O'Connell.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Okay. So you know more about this game than I did. It was on at the same time as the Washington game, but I don't think they did one studio update.
Nope.
Kyron Williams had a nice day, 2 touchdowns, even though he averaged only 3.6 a carry. Let's see, what else happened? Brock Bowers is very good at football. He had 10 catches for 93 yards. Cam Curl recovered a fumble.
Yep, returned it all the way.
Oh, good for Cam Curl. Anything else that we should know about this game, Anthony?
Cooper Kupp did not play. But
but he's going to play on Thursday.
Yeah.
So there's that. Okay. That's our Rams-Raiders review. We tell you scores and analysis from every game. We didn't say that it's going to be particularly insightful. By the way, are you still one game ahead of me? Did we pick all those, or did the Lions-Vikings game pull us back even?
Yep, we're even now because of the Lions-Vikings. That hurt. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt.
It's going to hurt even more on this one because I picked the Chiefs.
I picked the Chiefs too.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's the Jets-Steelers game that you were a doofus on.
You said what?
Okay. Chiefs 28, 49ers 18. I think tomorrow when we do the tier rankings, we're going to have a more serious conversation about the 49ers. They continue to get banged up. This is the worst game Brock Purdy's probably played as a pro. 17-31, 3 touchdowns. Meanwhile, the Chiefs just continue to find ways. 14 points in the second, 14 points in the fourth. And in this game, it's now actually official. The news just came in about 5 minutes ago during the last commercial break. Brandon Ayuk, torn ACL and MCL. He is out for the season. So McCaffrey still yet to play a snap this year. Debo missed this game because he wasn't feeling well. Went out for the coin toss and then was like, I can't actually play football today. So when they get Debo back, it'll be better. This Chiefs defense is really nasty, so I'm not that concerned about that part. But at 3-4 with all these injuries and some of them more permanent, I think we need to have a discussion about the 49ers tomorrow.
Yeah, again, the 49ers defense still isn't that good to me, though, Craig. It just isn't. And I think that's been their blueprint the last 4 years. So I can't wait to have the discussion.
Why we need to have a discussion.
Yes.
Yeah, their offense, not good, and their defense is just not coming together the way that it needs to. So Russell Wilson's debut, went well. Steelers 37-15 winners. Wilson 16-29, 264, 2 touchdowns. Najee Harris, there was concern about this Pittsburgh running game without Justin Fields. He goes for 21 carries, 102 on the yardage. That's over almost 5 yards a carry. Scores a touchdown. Russ runs one in as well on a sneak. George Pickens, big day, 5 catches of 111 yards. And Aaron Rodgers, not a good football player right now. 24-39 for 276, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. One would have been a pick 6 if Devontae Adams didn't go full Superman. Adams, 9 targets in his debut, 3 catches, 30 yards. That's going to hurt the fantasy team. Garrett Wilson, 5 for 61, and he was not happy during this game. Yeah, man, the Jets are abysmal. There's nothing more to say about it.
Yeah,
they're
I just
a bad
stop
football
these
team.
Guys, man, he doesn't look good.
I feel like this is on some level a year of football karma. This is what the Jets deserve for how they've handled their franchise.
Man,
you deserve to be 2-5. You deserve to be terrible. You deserve that. Robert Saleh doesn't deserve to have to put up with this. He deserves to get all that money that you should be paying him to coach a better football team, but you messed it up as the owner, as the GM, as whoever empowered Aaron Rodgers. Bad idea. Thank God the Jets traded for him and not the Commanders all them years ago, because I'm sure Dan Snyder wanted to. Ravens and Buccaneers tonight. Chargers, Cardinals tonight. Anthony, are we both on the same teams tonight?
Yes, we are.
Which means I will finish with a 1-game lead this week again.
You think so?
That's how that math is mathin'.
You're right.
But it could be another great week for the both of us.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take 10-3 every week if I could.
Yeah, if the Ravens and the Chargers win tonight.
Well, then I'd be 12 and.
Oh, we're already 10. I'm 11-2.
Yeah, you're 11-2.
Dang, that'd be pretty sick if 2 weeks in a row I went 13-1, then 13-2. One less bye week, or 2 less bye weeks this week. The Bears and the Cowboys, which, by the way, of course, the Bears will come off that bye to face the Commanders on Sunday. All right, that is our look around the NFL. When we get back, our pick 6 at 6. 6 players who we thought would be key to the Commanders-Panthers game. How did they do, and how did they shape the game? The answer's next on the Team 980. Anthony, I love how you tried to not dance. You just tried to be like, yeah, okay, we're back.
I was trying.
Earth, Wind, and Fire is playing. I'm not going to. And then eventually your shoulders just were like, I can't stop. I can't stop.
Hey, look, when that beat dropped, man.
Again.
That's all I can do.
I'm laughing at your attempt. It was clearly going to fail. All right. It's already almost 6:05. Let's get going. Pick six time here on a Monday.
The 6 biggest Commander storylines.
It is caught!
Delivered at 6 o'clock sharp. It's the Pick 6 at 6.
We set out to find a leader, someone who could take this franchise to the next level, build an elite team that consistently competes for championships.
All right, on Fridays, we pick 6 players who we think are going to have the biggest impact in the game. Quarterbacks are excluded, so no Dalton, no Jayden Daniels, and Marcus Mariota wasn't really on our radar, but hey, he would have been excluded as well. But who we did start with was
number 1,
Brian Robinson, who came back with a nice little vengeance, Anthony. 12 carries, 71 yards, 5.9 a carry, has the touchdown. And it felt like, especially in that first half, they just absolutely were able to get whatever they wanted on the ground. And you know, they ran McNichols a couple times, and he actually had a really nice couple of carries. Eckler, a little more hit or miss as a runner. They obviously had the huge play to Jaden. But eventually, I guess what I would say is, like, they started in the first series with Eckler and McNichols together in the backfield. And in the second series, they came back with B-Rob. And it was just like, okay, hey, by the way, Brian Robinson's back, and he looked fantastic.
Yeah, I think it was the third. I think it was Marcus
Mariota's
the
third series. Yeah,
his second series. Where they just ran B-Rob. It was, I think the scoring drive was 4 plays, 59 yards, all running plays by B-Rob. I think they had the pass interference on that drive as well. But for the most part, it was literally all Brian Robinson. And just being able to, have him back, we see the physical runner here he is, and how we can, I guess, get our offense going when we have a run game. And for him to go out there, have 12 carries, 71 yards, I think that just contributed to the rushing attack between all of our running backs. I think they combined for 23 carries for 130. So if we're doing that every game, I'll take that, no question. But I think it starts with the lead horse, Brian Robinson.
I think it does, and I think even, some of the quarterback run stuff, you get so scared of those running backs, and then Mariota, 11 for 34. Obviously, Jaden had 3 carries for 50, including the 46-yarder. All in all, 37 carries, 214 yards on the ground for Washington, and they have now run for 200 yards and passed for 200 yards, I believe, in 4 of the 7 games this year. That's good ball right there. The host is playing good ball.
Number 2.
Number 2, who is number 4? Frankie Louvu. Just another day at the office for Louvu. Only has 4 tackles, but has a sack, has 2 tackles for loss. When he made plays, they were behind the line of scrimmage. And I think that force that he plays with, the way he shows up, the impact, it just feels like when he makes tackles, Anthony, that the impact is larger than whatever the result of the play is itself.
Yeah, that dude, man, he is a wrecking ball. And I think we spoke to, us losing John Allen, us losing John Baptiste. Also, the fact that we get Jordan McGee back, and now we can utilize Frankie Louvu in different areas. And there were times he lined up at left defensive end, and boy, did he cook the right tackle a couple of times. So I would hope to expect to see him a little bit more on that front, especially on obvious passing downs where he can just, pull his ears back and get out the quarterback.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think watching the way this game played out from a game flow standpoint, to see what happens when they can get him out on the edge as opposed to in space. Because there's even a play, I think, early in one of the drives where he doesn't really drop at the right depth, and you're like, man, I know he's got to play off-ball linebacker, and sometimes that means he's playing in coverage, but I get excited when he can just rush, whether it's a blitzer, whether it's a true defensive end. Sometimes they do funky stuff with him where they just line him up kind of as a standing 3 technique where he's over between the guard and the tackle, and you're like, okay, I guess he's just going to rush against the guard here, and he's on the line of scrimmage, but I guess he's kind of just a blitzer in that gap. But Frankie Luvu doing that stuff, great. And the other thing he does really well is against the run, when he can run a little bit, and whether he gets to the ball or not, watching him just like stick his helmet right into the chin of a guard, where you're just like, oh man, that had to hurt. Where he gets downhill and he'll like bump a guard back into the path of the back, and the back has to bubble around. There's little stuff like that where if it involves physicality versus like, I need to drop to space and match routes, Frankie Luvu is about as good as you get in the entire NFL at that stuff, and he showed it again in this game.
Number 3.
You know who else showed up in this game? Daron freaking Payne. Daron Payne in this game, 3 tackles. He had 2 of them solo. He technically is not credited with a tackle for loss, which is silly to me because I definitely remember him having a tackle for loss. I think I even wrote in my notes. I was like, hello, Payne. He had some good rushes in this game as well. There is one play where like he gets bumped back a little bit, and it's a stunt, and Fowler comes inside, and then Payne winds up, like, because he has to leave room for Fowler, getting almost a running head start, and he just like bowls through a double team, and you're like, oh, that's fun. The physicality, the speed, the quickness, the power, like it looked like Daron Payne. And by the way, you want to see some fun athleticism? Watch him go out and lead block for Fowler on the pick 6. Big men should not be able to run that fast.
Yeah, he was moving. It looked like the sprints that they do at the end of training camp almost. That's how fast he was out there moving. But I think the play that you're talking about is where he lines up outside of the tight end, and him and Fowler end up doing a stunt. But, you know, just being able to, like, put him out there. And we've seen him outside at the defensive end this season. But I think, you know, him and Fowler still, you know, working out some things. And I think as time goes on, they'll be able to, you know, line up more, you know.
On third down, they can line up anywhere.
Yeah.
Which is super duper fun. The other thing I think is worth noting from this game, I don't know if there's a way to, I'm gonna have to text like 48 or someone who's got the True Media stats access. So Sam, if you're listening, I would love to know the numbers when Payne and Big Phil were together on the field against the run. Because when Phil could eat those double teams and create like some gaps for Daron to go shoot, like he is a really effective player. And so getting the chemistry between those guys down is going to be really fun to watch. And it seems like they've got some already. And then hopefully he and Newton can can learn to play together a little bit better as well as time goes on. That is the first half of our pick 6. We got 3 more players to discuss next. But first, let's get the latest from the world in women's sports presented by Wawa. Gotta have a Wawa. It's Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube. Chat is lively today at the Team 980 if you want to catch us there. Also, I should mention, we're going to play for you during Real Things today a clip of my exclusive one-on-one interview today with Ted Leonsis, the Monumental Sports chairman. That interview is in full on my YouTube page right now. At Craig Hoffman. I actually need to upload it to the Team 980's page as well. I meant to do that before the show, and I forgot to hit a button. So I will get that done ASAP. But at Team 980, at Craig Hoffman, for the full 13-minute interview with Ted Leonsis about the announcement about Capital One Arena and the city. We also got into some really good Wizards discussion for a couple of questions. The Mystics' future, especially the next 3 years, is their crowds are exploding and they won't have Capital One Arena to play in because of the construction. So we talked about that. And this all took place at the Harry Benson Art Gallery that Ted is opening just outside of Capital One Arena with some of the photography of Harry Benson, who is, in Ted's words, the greatest living photographer on Earth or in America. 94 years old now. Is some of the photos and the things that he was at to witness and take photos of were absolutely stunning. So we talked about all of that exclusive with Leonsis on YouTube now. It'll go in our podcast feed as well. Anthony, just remind me to send you that audio sooner rather than later, and we will get you that tomorrow in full on the radio. So if you just want to have a little patience too tomorrow, we will probably air that in full here on the Hoffman Show. All right, back to our pick six, though. Let's keep it up. We already talked about Robinson, Luvu, and Payne, and we actually picked a couple of guys that we thought would be interesting to watch from the Carolina lens.
Number 4.
We talked about Deontay Johnson, and he was completely quiet in this game, Anthony. The fact that Washington completely shut him out, one catch, I guess not completely technically shut him out, one catch, 17 yards. That was it. Was that in the second half? It had to be in the second half. I don't remember it.
I thought it was in the first half.
Maybe it was. I don't know. I don't remember seeing it on film. I'm to be honest, in the second half, I started. I was starting to make dinner. I was not exactly locked in at 40-0. So Deontay Johnson, one catch, 17 yards. The job they did on him, was remarkable. They were able to make sure that a guy who can hurt them in one-on-one situations didn't. And whether it's how they rolled the coverages, whether it's the individual guys that played them, they just did a fantastic job. Also, he was the guy who was the intended target on the Forbes pick, so great job by Emmanuel there. And you don't know how you almost shut out a team. Do that to their number one target. A guy that, when Joe Witt watched him on tape, he was like, that dude's good. And Deontay Johnson is a good football player. If the Commanders traded for Deontay Johnson, I think everyone around here would be very, very happy. And by the way, he's probably going to be available. But if he does become Commander, let's certainly hope he plays better at Northwest Stadium for the home team than he did in terms of productivity and production for the away team.
Yeah, not Johnson's best day out. I think Samer still had a couple of good defensive plays on him, especially in the first half. Who else? And then Forbes, of course, he comes away with the pick. And even if, Deontay actually does run his full route, because it looks like he just stopped. I think Forbes would have been in position to, get a deflection. If not, also, still come up the interception. But him getting that interception, man, I think we're going to get back to that in number 6. But I was super happy for my man Forbes.
Yeah, no, it's great to see. And, hey, he can still, if he can all of a sudden turn into a good player, that's a good thing for this team. That's a way to fix your corner problem. It still feels like incredible wish casting, but if it's going to happen, it's going to start with confidence. And sometimes you need to see one go in the bucket, so to speak. And that was good. I will say, this feels like piling on. I was a little disappointed in his return. I know how skilled of a return he is, and I felt like maybe we get a little more magic there. It was a solid return.
I think he went down because of the flags.
I think, you know what? That's right. You know what? I was like, I feel like something's missing there. I think he saw the flags and was like,
yeah, he just dove down.
I don't need to take some big shot or run myself silly when it's all going to get called back.
Yeah, because even when he got up, he didn't celebrate. It was more so just, all right, what's the call? oh, we still got the ball. All right, and then he went to go celebrate. So I think that's in part to why he went down.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I remember 2015, Will Blackman got a pick, and he had a return, and he came on the show to talk about the play, and he was so mad at himself because Will was a really, really good kick and punt returner.
Uh-huh.
And I'm trying to remember whether he called it, I think he's like, that return was booty. I think that was something in that family. Whether he called it dookie, whether he called it booty. It was something related to the bum.
Yeah.
He was so mad at himself. It just always cracks me up when guys who are good returners have bad ones, and they're like, yeah, man, I don't know what I was doing there. But Forbes, I do think, saw the flags and went down.
Yeah.
All right. Number 5, Anthony, you picked Chuba Hubbard. How'd they do? I think well.
I think we did a fantastic job. Chuba rushed for he had 17 carries for 52 yards with 3.1 on the ground. I mean, considering what he was doing before he came into the game, again, he was the NFL's third leading rusher, and he was averaging about 5.5 yards per carry. So the fact we limited him to 3.1 on the ground and then 52 yards and the tub came in garbage time when we're destroying these guys, and that's when it came. I guess like eventually they want to score kind of thing. But I think we did a phenomenal job. If we can keep this up in terms of, limiting opposing teams' running backs from having monstrous days, I definitely think the defense, played good.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what happens against Chicago because the last 2 weeks, the Commanders' defense has held the opponent under their typical rushing performance. And this week comes in a game where the game flow is just abysmal for running the football. And last week, they still gave up a ton of yards and couldn't get a stop when they needed it. It's just, Baltimore had literally been averaging 6 yards a carry, and they held them to only 4.8. So it's like, how good is that actually? So I'm very, very, very intrigued to see how this Washington run defense does the next couple of weeks. Because they've got, what is it? They've got
the Bears,
Chicago, the Giants, and the Steelers. And then the Eagles on a short week.
Yep.
So the next 4 games, I think, will tell us a lot on how much progress Joe Witt and Dan Quinn have made on this defensive or this run defense. And, of course, getting turnovers helps too.
Number 6.
Last but not least, I picked Quan Martin. I made a bold prediction. I said Quan Martin was going to be someone who would get a pick. Anthony, I was incorrect on that. I said maybe Quan BSJ. You went Quan and Emmanuel Forbes. Anthony, that's a correct pick for you, sir. Hey now.
It was. And I thought it was going to come later in the game. I thought that it was going to be, we're up big. Forbes, he's going to have an opportunity to go out there and play. And I think for anybody getting an interception, I think this interception was a huge confidence booster for Emmanuel Forbes. And hopefully, he can continue to play well. I want to see this guy pan out just because, again, we spent a first-round draft pick on this guy, and I don't want to see it go to waste. We've already had too many first-round draft picks start here and then end up, not finishing their rookie contract. I want the opposite for Forbes. So I'm hoping this can, catapult some sort of a good season for the young quarterback.
Yeah, something that I do want to ask Dan, or I hope gets asked on Wednesday, is like kind of what's the plan moving forward? Because they went back to what they went to against Cleveland, where they rotated those guys. And I thought in this game the Forbes, BSJ, Sainer Still group played a little better than the Igbenogany group. Noah, I think, has had a good year, but he had a couple in this game where he got a little bit sideways. Some of the communication between he and Sainer Still. There weren't a lot of plays for Carolina, but like some of it happened there. And again, like these things happen. It's 1 week, but Forbes, I think, did a good job, and not just on the pick. So I'm curious to see what the plan is moving forward. But good job for Emmanuel. Quan, Quan was Quan. I think ultimately the other reason I picked Quan was because he is coming into the game with a shoulder injury, and I wanted to see how physical he would be. He looked like Quan Martin, so all is good there. And they'll need him big time this week against the Chicago Bears. All right, that's our pick 6 at 6. When we get back, it's a Tell the Truth Monday, 301-230-0980. Your truth on the game. We take your calls as we finish our final half hour here on The Hoffman Show. 301-230-0980 is the phone number. 301-230-0980. It's a Tell the Truth Monday. And Anthony, I'm going to ask you the magical question again. Do you want to do a proper reformal introduction of the segment? And if so, is that something that we are prepared to do as we get the full breakdown? Anthony's giving me the thumbs up of Commanders and Panthers from all angles. What's your truth about the game? Let's find out.
It's Tell the Truth Monday on The Hoffman Show.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth!
Call us now at 301-230-0980 to tell the truth about the Commanders.
You can't handle the truth!
Or hit the comment section at the Team 980 on YouTube.
All right, you can get your comments in the chat or give us a call at 301-230-0980. That's what Mark has done. Mark, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show. What's your truth from the Commanders' 48-7 win?
Hey, Craig, how you doing? It's always a pleasure. My truth is Cliff Kingsbury. I think he's the MVP of the season, the way he's handled Jayden Daniels. The whole league is noticing. You know, I was freaking out when Daniels went down and Mariota came in. I've always liked Mariota, but, I mean, you know, he's a journeyman backup quarterback now. But the way Kingsbury, the seamlessness between him and Jaden Daniels, the play calling, the way he speeds up the plays, the no huddles, it's getting noticed. And I don't want to borrow trouble, but I hope we can hang on to him at least 2 or 3 years, because ultimately I think he wants to get back at a head coaching position, because he was railroaded out of Arizona. Maybe not railroad. That's pretty strong. But I think he's going to get a second chance. I love Dan Quinn because Dan Quinn has the ability. He's always surrounded himself with offensive coordinators who are innovative. His Atlanta days with Shanahan and all that. So he seeks out great minds because he knows he's a defensive guy. So I just can't get enough of Kingsbury, and I hope we can keep him for a while.
Mark, great. Yeah, no, great call. Very much appreciated and very, very much agree. And I think, you know, Cliff is someone that when he initially took the job, did not want to do a lot of press. And I totally understand why. He just wanted to get here and get to work. And that was made very clear to, I think, me and a lot of other people that wanted to interview him. Like, hey, it's not personal. It's not anything other than, like, he will do the bare minimum. He'll show up at the press conferences, you know, but he wants to work. And I think as he's gotten in it, like, his Thursday pressers have actually been really insightful. Like, he's been great answering questions. He seems to have developed a very good rapport with the press corps that is out there each and every week. And I'm hoping soon I can make my schedule work to get out there to a Thursday, especially to get to ask Cliff a couple things and Joe Witt a couple things. You know, I get the chance to talk to Dan after games, obviously, in those press conference settings and ask him questions when I'm there in Landover. But I think the general consensus on Cliff is he has obviously done a tremendous job, but he's also really happy right now. He really enjoys just doing the offense. And I'm really hoping that joy, that fulfillment, combined with some probably, let's be honest, more of Josh Harris's money, and not in a nefarious, like, hey, if you don't pay me more, I'm going to leave. Just like hey, man, you've done a great job. We want you to turn down some head coaching jobs. We're going to pay you more money. You deserve a raise. We'll give you an extension. Like, I hope it does get Dan Quinn a couple of years of Cliff. And I hope that it ends with them in a Super Bowl, and then Cliff feels like, hey, I did what I needed to do. Now it's time for me to take on my next challenge. But I think that one of the things that I'm also curious about in terms of the line of succession at offensive coordinator, if Cliff eventually does leave, is, and especially if it's a couple of years from now, is who else is here? And that is a lesson that I think Dan Quinn learned in a major way when he was in Atlanta. Was it wasn't just that he let Kyle Shanahan go. Kyle Shanahan was there, but so was Mike McDaniel. So was Mike LaFleur. So was a couple of other guys. It was Mike Matt or both of them. Both LaFleur guys might have been there. But they had that 2016 staff is Atlanta's version of the 2012 Washington staff. Like, there are, I think, 7 current head coaches on that staff now that Jeff Ulbrich is in charge in New York on an interim basis. Like, it's crazy. They showed that graphic on the telecast. And so do you not only have a replacement for Cliff in mind, but do you have a kind of a hierarchy of guys that are ready to take the next step. And so my thought is that if Cliff gets poached after this season and he decides like, hey, I've proven what I need to, I'm ready to go test myself as a head coach. He gets a really great offer, a team that he wants to work for. The ownership is good. The GM is good. That Tavita Pritchard is ready to take the next step. But there's also the chance that Cliff turns down, just says, I'm not interested in head coaching positions. I want at least another year as a coordinator to learn some more stuff from DQ, to continue to work with Jayden. And I feel like we have unfinished business, depending on how this season ends, that if Tavita gets OC jobs, what does he do? And if he takes one, which if he very well might, that whoever the next guy is, whether it's David Blau or whoever they bring in, there is some continuity amongst the staff that helps continue to build this thing over time, and they're not starting over. The play caller is always super important. Cliff's ability to call plays and sequence them and set things up, like he's excellent at what he does. The play design stuff, it's awesome. But it's also collaborative in a lot of ways. And so maybe it's Brian Johnson next. Maybe it's Tavita. Maybe it's Anthony Lynn, whoever it is, but they all continue to have the input, and the system that's in place, even if the guy leading the meeting is a little different, stays relatively the same for Jayden until, who knows, 7 years from now, Jayden's basically going to be running those meetings, you would think, if things go right anyway. So that's where I'm at on Cliff. I really hope that his desire to stay, and by the way, the fact that this seems to be an incredibly fantastic place to work is enough to keep him around for a couple years. 301-230-0980. Tell the Truth Monday. Let's go to Mike. Mike, thanks for calling. You are on the Hoffman Show. What truth do you have on this Monday after a 40-7 win?
Oh, man. Craig, what's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm good.
Dude, raise hail. Man, I just got to say, first-time caller, man. I listen to you and Logan on the pod all the time.
Oh, thanks, dude.
Thanks for taking my call. Love your stuff, bro. So feel me out here. I love Jayden running. Like, without that concept and without that threat, our entire offense is way different. You know what I mean? We're just like every other team. We have to have Jayden run the ball. But like on that 46-yard run, 47-yard run, whatever it was, dude, in my opinion, and this is strictly my opinion, Craig, take 30 yards and just slide. You know what I mean? Like I know it's hard to say that, but when you look at what happened, those guys caught up to him, and now we've got a rib injury, right? Like, we got a season, we got a career, we got Super Bowls to win, brother. Like, and then another point with Cliff Kingsbury, man, if I was Adam Peters, I would kick down Josh Harris's door, and I'd want to give him a 3-year extension. Lock him up for as long as we can, make him the highest paid OC by far, and let him enjoy his happy place, bro.
Yeah, Mike, thanks for the call. And I think you make some good points on the 30 versus, can you run for 30 and slide? But I think you kind of caught yourself where the hard part of that is, which is Jayden's a competitor. He's out there trying to make a play. He doesn't have a full, rear view mirror, rear camera of what's behind him. And so he's out there doing the best he can in the moment. And maybe he does learn, like, hey, maybe it's a little safer to cut outside and just stay there and keep guys on one side of me. But he saw a potential to, I think, break free and score inside. So we went for it. And he's a playmaker, and that's how it goes. On the Cliff front, the other thing I will say is, like, it has been 7 weeks. And Cliff has notoriously been a phenomenal starter. And again, I don't know what the solution is against this offense, so I'm not pretending like there's a shoe to drop that I'm waiting for that I secretly haven't told anybody yet because I'm trying to help the Commanders win. Like, that's A, not my job, and B, if I had the answers to that, someone would be hiring me to be a defensive coordinator, not an afternoon drive radio host. But history also does tell us that teams figure some stuff out with Cliff later in the year, and if that happens, whether it's later this year or maybe it takes a year and a half because Jayden's so much better. And this is not just Kyler Murray and his lack of studying or whatever the hell was happening in Arizona. Like, this was at Texas Tech. This is many places, basically every place that Cliff has been. There is a fall off. So has he learned how to adjust? Is this adjustment proof? Because the solutions are always built in. Like, I'm very curious to see how the rest of this thing goes. And you don't have to give him an extension yet. I understand the desire to. He's been the best assistant coach. Like, whatever assistant coach of the year award you want to give, like Cliff Kingsbury's the guy at this point. But it is only 7 weeks in a 17-week season. We're not even at the halfway point, and a little perspective, I think, goes a long way. All right, when we get back, an exclusive first listen of my interview with Ted Leonsis that you'll hear in full tomorrow here on the Team 980. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live on YouTube at the Team 980. I think my body's just ready to be done with the show, Anthony. Like, whoa. Got attacked from the inside.
You're ready to be done?
I think so.
You're not ready for 3 more hours?
No. We don't have to do
Just
3
making
more
sure.
hours. If we did, just replay this show. I'm not going to do it. We did
True.
such a good job today.
That's fair.
We could possibly do better. Why would you ask us to do it again? We already produced greatness. Duh. By the way, if you missed any of the show today, you want to check out some of this excellence, some of this greatness, some of this should be Marconi-nominated radio. I've always kind of laughed that the radio awards are called the Marconis, which is the guy who invented radio, Marconi. It just sounds a lot like macaroni. And it looks a lot like macaroni when you write it out. Anyway, we have a podcast. Those are up for like Webby Awards and stuff. Search the Hoffman Show anywhere that gets your pods. You can also re-watch any of the show on demand on YouTube at the Team 980 or rewind in the free Odyssey app. Anthony, what was your favorite part of the show today? I was going to do a fun flippy the bottle trick and I fumbled. Tell everybody what's your favorite part of the show today. I'm going to go get my water bottle.
Favorite part of the show. I'm not gonna lie. What was his name? We had a caller named.
Was it Mike from Wheaton who just like went on forever? But it was actually. I was like, this is a long call, but he's making good points.
Yeah. I think his call was very interesting.
Yeah, like they wouldn't necessarily say when I say good points, like things that are worth thinking about. I don't know that I agree with all of it. I think he had a little bit of Linnell to him, where it's like, hey, this is good information. I don't know about the conclusions you're drawing with it. You've clearly thought about this a lot. I don't know that you've landed in exactly the right place.
Yeah.
But he had some good stuff. That was at 4:30. That was an hour one. So, or was it?
No, it was 4:45.
It was 4:45. Yeah, it was the end of hour one. And then we took extra calls, and then Michael Phillips joined us at 5:15. But, good stuff. So, that's already up in the podcast feed if you want to check it out.
Yes, it is.
Hour number one. Obviously, we learned today, Jayden, week to week with the rib, so we'll see where that goes. Tomorrow on the show, it's Tischler Tuesday. It's a vibe check Tuesday. I'm definitely curious of the vibes with this injury. The vibes still seem to be pretty darn good. Anything else of note tomorrow?
Oh, we have a Wizards interview.
Yeah. I think, well, and I don't want to say we'll play Corey because I want to give the team a chance to give us Corey live this week. But we have all of our interviews from Media Day that we're going to start unleashing on all of you this week. So we'll do that tomorrow. And I think that's going to be 5:30, or are we doing it 6:30 tomorrow?
6:30.
6:30 tomorrow. Let's say Kyle Kuzma 6:30 tomorrow. I think that's a good one. The other thing we're going to do on the Wizards front tomorrow, we got to figure out when this is going to go in the rundown, Anthony, is my chat with Ted Leonsis, which is available now on YouTube in full at Craig Hoffman, and we're going to give you a sneak peek first listen right now as part of Real Things.
Real things.
We're not going to be sucked this year.
Real people.
5-11, not very good.
Said into real microphones.
You know, the culture is actually damn good.
All righty then. So I went to the Harry Benson Gallery today, which is a new gallery coming to Gallery Place right outside of Capital One Arena that'll be open to the public here relatively soon. Amazing photography, some really, really cool stuff in there. But we talked to Ted about a whole bunch of things, including the news of the day, which is that he has reached a new agreement with the city of D.C. to have the district purchase Capital One Arena from Ted and then lease it back to Monumental as part of the continued investment in Capital One Arena and the surrounding area in Chinatown in downtown D.C. So I asked Ted, as this news was still becoming official, what he could tell us as of this morning.
Ted, we're here in the Benson Gallery. There's so many amazing...
Nope, that's not the right one. I don't think I cut the actual clip, Anthony.
Man.
I definitely thought I did. Hold on. We can... Nope. That's just a total fail. I have the full interview.
Oh,
by so many people.
Well,
let's see. Let's do that. You scroll a little bit. Now the Google Drive's not working. Well, that's disappointing.
I mean, we have a couple of other things in
we do. I just, I made a promise that I'd give people an exclusive. Technically, you just heard some of the interview. Technically, we paid off the tease, but not in a way that made anybody happy. So I'm sorry about that. I'm genuinely sorry. And tomorrow, we're going to play the interview in full. It is available on YouTube at Craig Hoffman. It will be available on YouTube at the Team 980, like in the next 20 minutes. So if you want to really listen to it that bad, go ahead. It will also be up in the podcast feed in the next 20 minutes, because the first thing I'm going to do when the show ends is send that audio file that I just played on accident that I thought was the clip that we had cut for the show. We're gonna put that in the podcast feed. Okay, instead, here's Arizona State's coach talking about their kicking problem.
But just because you convert doesn't guarantee that you make it one possession. So you would hope that you can make, a kick, one of those. But our kicking game's atrocious. So if you can kick and you're at Arizona State, email me, right? We're going to have kicking tryouts on Monday. So bring it on, kicking tryouts Monday. Let's go. Yeah, I'm dead serious. We're going to put it out on our social. We're going to have a kicking tryout on Monday. We got to find somebody who can make it.
Anthony, is there any updates from the Arizona State kicking tryouts?
Not that I have seen just yet.
Okay. I think that's genuinely hilarious. I feel bad for the current kicker, who is still a college kid who now just got absolutely dragged by his coach. I feel like there's a way to say, hey, we love Jake from State Farm. Whoever the kicker's name is a guy, but obviously we're not getting the job done, so we're just gonna have tryouts on Monday. I think there's probably a slightly kinder way to say it, but that's a ticked off football coach, and ticked off football coaches are famously, perfect with their words. All right, that's our show. We'll see you tomorrow on the Team 980.